Hello, hello from Villach in Corinthia, which is Canton in Austria. Very steep, it's true. We're here riding some awesome trails. Today I'm going to give you some tips. My tip, if you come here, rent an e-bike. You will have so much more fun. That was tip number one. Let's get going, more to come. The trail I'm taking you on is called Parthy Trail. It's a black trail in Corinthia. I really like this trail, and this is now the third time I'm riding it. The first time we did a pre-ride to get to know the trail, to see if the drops are rollable, and just to get to know the general character of the trail. I always recommend doing that slowly, especially on black trails. Then we rode it a little faster and filmed a German video. And this is my third time now filming this video. What we're going to do is the following. My hubby Bernie is going to be following me. And then I'm going to comment the video with an analysis tool, sharing with you a lot about line choice, a lot about why I ride which line, and which skills you need to ride these lines. So follow me down Parthy Trail. Bernie's on his longer Mondraker bike and I'm on my Lapierre bike, the GLP2, the Overvolt. And this trail here in the lake bike area is so much fun. It's a black trail because it's very steep. It's also very rooty. It's very loose in some parts and requires amazing brake control. So you can see here in this section, let's just rewind for a bit here, that you have a tight corner followed by a very steep section, and then the corner closes up in the end. Of course, again, or like it's in all videos filmed by follow cam, you cannot see how steep it really is, so I can assure you it's much steeper than you actually think it is. You can see there's also roll downs, and I'd like to comment this section right now because it's great learning section. Here you can see that I'm opening up the turn by counter steering. So you'll see if we rewind here, you can see that I'm first approaching on the inside, then steering to the outside of the turn right there. Can you see I'm opening up the turn by counter steering to the right side, although it's a left turn, which makes more room for my rear wheel. Then I'm getting low here, bending arms and legs. It's hard to tell because Bernie's handlebar is in the way, but you can see now I'm bending arms and legs because there's a super steep section coming up. So I want my arms to allow the bike to move forward. You can see that here there's a big step, so my bike is moving forward. Here you can see that the bike is falling away from me. If you look at my rear wheel, my legs are going into extension, allowing the bike to move. And then I'm keeping my solid stance through my feet here. And because there's a very tight turn down here, I'm now leaning the bike decisively, looking into the turn and allowing the bike to make that sharp turn. So let's just rewind again so you can see that again, because you'll also see that after that counter steer, I'm keeping the bike upright, so I'm not leaning it into any direction because I want my bike to be upright to roll down those multiple steps in that steep section. And then I'm leaning the bike at the end of the turn basically to then down here make that turn. So this is when I lean the bike. So let me just rewind and let you rewatch that section at normal riding speed. And the same for Bernie, he then leans the bike decisively and makes the turn. That's a great tip for these sharp turns with steep sections in between, that you want to keep the bike upright in the steep and then just lean the bike in the end to allow the bike to turn. This section coming up here is a fun little uphill section, and you can see that Bernie's taking the right line over the roots because he took a little more speed. He pumped into the compression at the bottom, and then you can see that here the trail still meanders along with some tighter turns, some more flowy sections. some little jumps, and just a lot of great trails here. The trail builders have done such an amazing job here. All these trails are new, which is so great. Here I'd also like to rewind a little because it's a great example of line choice and how line choice has an effect on your riding. You can see that I'm approaching on the outside and I'm staying on the outside of the turn, and if you look at Bernie's bike, you'll see that he's approaching on the inside, and then he has more buffer in case he should slip. And so you can see he's on the left side, and here I'm staying on the right side. So of course I have the longer way to go, but also I have a smoother radius, and Bernie here on the inside has a little less distance to travel, but also it's a little tighter. So both have their advantages, and also the main advantage of Bernie's line is that should he slip, then the bike will slip, but probably he'll stop somewhere here in that mini little berm that has formed because people haven't taken the line I take. And I, on the other hand, if I should slip here, then I have a problem that, of course, here is not a place you want to slip to. So it's pretty interesting to see. Let me just show you again at normal riding speed. So we're coming towards the end of the first section of Parthy Trail, and the second section coming up is even more technical. So let's look at the second section now. If you thought the first section of Parthy Trail was technical, I don't recommend riding the second section because it's much more rutted and much more technical. Right at the beginning here, you can see there's a double on the left side. So this is a jump where there's a gap in the middle and then the landing here. You need a lot of speed and of course a lot of skill for this. We decided not to take it because the section after that is very technical and we didn't want to go into it with so much speed. So the section coming up now is a very tight right turn with a huge roll down in between. Let's just back up and look at the section again, and you can also see what a great line choice Bernie is using, how he's opening up the turn here. You can see that he's steering to the left, although it's a right turn, to make room because his bike is longer. Then you can see that I'm getting really low before this section. Can you see that I'm getting really low by bending my arms and my legs right before this roll down, my arms more than my legs. Then I'm allowing the bike to move forward, so the bike will drop forward away from me, the saddle will go forward, and now I'm behind my saddle, but I'm still 100% balanced through the feet with my full weight on my legs. Then I decisively look into the turn, keep leaning the bike into the turn, keep modulating the brakes, and add steering to then allow my rear wheel to follow. This section, it will, of course, fall down the rear wheel. Gravity always wins. However, what really matters is maintaining that grip on your handlebars, looking, steering, rotating into the turn, and modulating the brakes all the way to make that turn because it's a super tight turn. Bernie, on the other hand, as he approached on the outside line, so you can see here it's a great example. I'm approaching here in the middle and Bernie is approaching here on the outside. He doesn't need to steer as much as I do, which makes it a little smoother. You can see here that also, but he can lean the bike. He doesn't need to steer as much and he needs to lean it decisively later, but still the commitment, the modulation of the brakes and the rotation of the upper body into the turn is what matters for these sections. Also remember that these sections Let me just back up again so you can also see it at normal speed afterwards. For these sections, you need to combine several fundamental skills. If you'd like to work on your fundamental skills, then check out the link below this video, or right here, I'm blending it in at the moment. It's a combination of fundamental skills such as rolling down obstacles, so allowing the bike to move away from you, your very, very balanced and heavy stance through the feet, modulated braking, because you need to modulate your brakes throughout this section, and of course cornering. That's why I have a tight switchbacks and cornering course also, where you'll learn how to corner from home in a few weeks, because nobody will learn these skills and automatize these skills in only 1 or 2 days. So let's look at the section again at riding speed, and then I'll show you the rest of the trail. The rest of the trail is also pretty steppy, so there are bigger roll downs, roots, and even drops. That was a drop right there. So a drop versus a roll down is a roll down. You can roll, and a drop, you need to have air time. So you need to give the bike an impulse to then have a short moment of air time. This section here actually is perfect, because, let me just show you again, let's just reverse and look at this. It's super steep, super rooty, and right here you have a compression. Look at, I don't know if you can see, yeah, there we can see, my front wheel rolls into the creek, and then on the other side there's an uphill. So this is, although I'm in a very steep position, so it's very steep down here, then there's a little creek here, and then there's an uphill section coming here. If you have a lot of pressure in your hands, and I know a lot of people say so, they say you need weight in your hands to stabilize the front wheel. If, however, you do that here, I will guarantee you this position here, if you have weight in your hands, the bike will pitch you over the handlebar. I can promise. And actually 5 minutes before we filmed this, a guy went over his handlebars right here, and he was not too slow or anything. He just didn't have a good position in his bike. So these sections are excellent drill instructors for a great position in your bike with a heavy feet, light hands, because then you can here absorb the bike, allow the bike to move and not be pitched forward. So let's look at this section again at normal riding speed, and you'll see that my torso and head are pretty stable, and I'm allowing the bike to move with little to no weight in my hands, and all my weight balanced through my feet. So the next section is a little flowier, rooty, but a little less tight turns with a little more berms. Super fun area here to ride. I do recommend getting an e-bike because it's just more fun as it's very steep. This here, let's just back up to look at this little drop here. This is actually a non-rollable drop. So if I would not drop here but roll it, then I would probably be pitched over the handlebar because my bottom bracket would clip the obstacle, which is why I choose to perform a drop variety here, or one version to drop. With an e-bike, especially short women like me need to use a stomp technique. That means that you need to compress the bike to then make it weightless, which means the bike will compress, it will then stick to your body, and then you can, the moment the bike rolls over it, you can place it gently into the landing. I'm currently working on a drops course. It will come soon. If you're German, I already have one. You can work with me to turn all this knowledge into abilities by following my proven drills. So you can see here that I gently place the bike into the landing, extending and then absorbing the landing. And this is also a reason why I recommend a pre-ride and not just riding blindly, because you never know if something is rollable or not. Next section of the trail, again, super nice forest and grippy soil, which is super fun to ride. An amazing destination here. The trail then goes into Sensory Trail, which is a super flowy trail with super tight berms. My tip for berms that are this tight, let's just back up and look at it again. And one thing is look into the berm, so look ahead, and also bend your arms and legs. Get nice and small, so get nice and low. This will allow you to really take these berms like you're on rails. You can see that I approach pretty upright to always get into that relaxed stance. Anytime I have the possibility, you'll see me extend arms and legs to get into a pretty relaxed stance. But as soon as I need it, I'll get small. I got low in my bike to brace against the forces, and also to work with these forces pushing me into that berm. One more here, and then we've come to the end of the trail. This region is one of the few regions in Austria where there are signposted trails and also designated uphill trails, which are shared trails. So you will have hikers there, but the bike trails, the downhill trails, some of them are shared, but most of them are not shared. So they are only for bikers. The great thing about this area is you have different possibilities to ride uphill, very steep ones, perfect for e-bikes because e-bikers are always welcome. Why? Because they're fun. And non-e-bike trails, which are less steep but still very demanding. So if you're looking for a nice mountain bike destination, then I can truly recommend this area. You'll find the name and some links below this video. I would love to know how you liked the analysis, and if you would want me to do more of this style of content, comment below, share the video with friends if you found it helpful, and if you'd like to support me, then become a patron or buy me a coffee. Sending you much love, all links below.